Hey guys, welcome to another edition of the Inside Scoop. My name is Neil Crawford. I'm your host and also the founder of Anytime Soccer Training. If you're not familiar with the Inside Scoop, it's a podcast dedicated to helping parents learn about the soccer pathways that would be available to their child if they lived in another city around the world. And in this show, we're going to go a little off script. I'm going to do a video edition because I want to give some video examples to a very nuanced and obscure point that I've been making over the years that involves the ability to dribble with every single step. I actually wrote an ebook entitled The Most Important Skill in the Youth Soccer Rarely Taught, which is, in my opinion, the ability to dribble with every step. So we're going to talk about that in video format. And hopefully this will resonate with someone listening. But before we jump in, let me go ahead and do my laundry list of disclaimers. Okay. Number one, the video examples that I'm going to share are not meant to degrade, demean, or criticize anything that anyone's doing. I'm just using them as a teaching piece of teaching content because 99% of the battle is just being out there. This stuff right here is just sort of nuanced, wonky, something that has helped me. I think it could help you, but I would not put it in the category of mandatory. Number two, I never played the game. Didn't even know we had a soccer team until the kicker, who was my neighbor, not neighbor, but he lived in the neighborhood. I saw him in the soccer in our yearbook in high school on the soccer team page. So I never played the game. So take it with a grain of salt. I never trained a professional, right? Haven't met that many professionals, and definitely not trained one. I never trained a child or a person who then went on to become a professional. I've not raised any professionals. I have not, I've only attended 3 professional youth academy training sessions in person. I've been to several academy training sessions but those teams are just called academies, but they're not necessarily linked to a pro outfit. And then my local club does have a USL team, USL championship team. So you could kind of count that. But I've only attended 3 fully funded academy training sessions in my life. So take it with a grain of salt. And then the final one is, and even though I wasn't invited as a participant, I was just watching as a parent. And then my final one is, of all the thousands of professional soccer players that we've watched on television throughout the years of watching soccer, I don't think there's a single one of them who was consciously taught this. At least all that I'm seeing doesn't suggest that they are. And they are magnificent on the ball. So hey, they work it out. So why, given all those disclaimers, why am I bringing this to your attention? Again, this concept of teaching and then enforcing the ability to dribble with every step has been significantly, I'll describe as a game changer in my ability to communicate a finer technical point to my children and the kids I train. Number two is I have seen the benefit, but I don't see this taught that often. It might be mentioned, but taught that often or enforced in the training sessions that I watch. And then even when it is taught, I did not see the depth and detail that I have stumbled across that I'll try to share. And finally, hopefully it can help you, right? So it's just a technical way of thinking about it. So now that we've said all that, let me tee it up one more thing before we jump into the videos. Individual, unopposed technical training has some advantages and disadvantages. And many of those advantages and disadvantages are well chronicled. Disadvantages is it's not the game. You can't make it the game. It is what it is. These are static objects, oftentimes that they're going against, and it doesn't have all those game-like components that really are essential for habit formation, which I've talked about in other podcasts. So kids don't like it as much. Who wants to be out there by themselves in the hot sun training by themselves as opposed to playing with their friends? There are a lot of disadvantages, and we've talked about that. And then there are some advantages, right? So we talk about how you can walk before you crawl. It gives you an opportunity to work on something very specific. It gives them opportunity to keep possession of the ball, get a lot of touches of the ball without having to worry about a defender taking it And we know that miraculously, the kids who put in work, or people in that matter, individually on their own, miraculously seem to be the best ones in these game environments as well. So there's some brain training there that then translates to the application in the game. So those are common themes you hear. Well, one of the common advantages I did not hear when I first started soccer training, which I actually think is one of the most important, is unopposed technical training, especially at that individual level. So unopposed technical training provides the instructor an opportunity to measure, observe, and quantify the quality of the player's touch. I said a lot there. It provides me an opportunity as the instructor to evaluate and measure the quality of the player's touch. But in order to do that, you have to control for certain variables, and you have to establish a unit of measurement for the touch. And the unit of measurement for the touch is established by the rule of touching the ball with every step, because then you got to basically use a similar touch in order to achieve the objective consistently. So we know speed is a variable. We know the ability of the amount of times you can do something like change direction is a variable. The amount of cones you can pass can be a variable to measure how fast you're going or how many times you can change direction. The distance, how far the objects are set apart from each other, that's a variable. And in an unopposed setting, the criticism, which is these things don't move, actually provides an opportunity for you to also control for these things. And by controlling for these things, you get to really hone in on the quality of their touch, the dominion of their control. And without doing that, I think you miss a very significant, in my opinion, piece of technical development, technical training that can accelerate the growth. So just think about it. People will criticize and say, oh, cones don't move. Yes, it's precisely because cones don't move that I can test the quality of your touch. All right. So I'm not going to record this video again. So I'm hoping this will work out for us. All right. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go down a road of memory lane. I mentioned this in one of the podcasts. When I was younger, I had to I used to be a promoter, and we used to have to do these salsa things. And so I had to take a lot of salsa classes, me and my wife, and I wasn't a very good dancer. And the way they taught us salsa sort of stuck with me. And I'm going to share like 2 seconds of this video because we're going to lead from here. I know it sounds a bit crazy. We're going to go from here to soccer. All right.
So watch. You can make it a little bit easier if you want to do the turn by starting to turn a little bit, which is
I'm going to stop sharing because I don't want to record this again. I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to share again. And I'm praying you can hear this. Yeah. All right.
Quarter to your right side on 1. Okay. So as you can see, the turn already started. When you're doing this together with your partner, this will change slightly. But in the beginning, to learn how to turn, this is easier. So you go 1. Now you turn 2. And as you can see, we are now halfway down the turn. Okay, we are now already halfway down the turn. We are going to lift up our left foot. We are going to turn on the right foot, finishing the turn on the 3rd count. So this was 1, 2, and 3, finishing the turn. So let's do that again. But before we go back into the forward step, we first finish the turn by stepping back in 5, 6, and 7. So basically, one turn takes only 3 counts. But in total, it will take a full basic step. So in the 1, 2, 3, you do the turn, and in your 5, 6, 7, you're just doing your basic back step. So let's do it again, slowly. You're going to step forward, initiating your turn on 1. Then this is 2, you're halfway down the turn, and now you turn on 3. Now, as you can see, we are using our arms. We keep them centered, so you can give a little bit of momentum to your turn. After the turn, we have to step back, 5, 6, 7. So let's do this very slowly, but now we go into stage number 2. We do a basic step before the turn. 5, 6, basic step. 1, 2, 3, and 5. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, and 5, 6, and 7. This is basically the whole.
All right. So in this first video, the instructor is teaching how to do a basic turn in salsa. Let me pause this one. He's teaching how to do a basic turn in salsa. So let's take a time out and say this, okay? Because I know the let the game be the greatest teachers. They learn and best in free play. I know they're going to jump on this. When someone comes to you as an instructor and basically says, I want you to teach me something, by default, they're saying, hey, I want you to add a bit of structure to this thing that you want me to learn so that I can master it, right? I can become very proficient at it. And then I can utilize those concepts that you have taught me, those moves that you have taught me in an unstructured environment. That's what, other than that, what are you doing, right? So how you teach that. So you might have the level, the amount of structure you deploy, the amount of freedom you give them, how you communicate, the verbal instructions. Do you do it with constraints? That what pedagogy you use, that we can have that conversation. But by definition, the person is, once you step into the instructor role, there's going to be a degree of instruction there. And in order to teach somebody something, in my opinion, they need to be able to demonstrate that they can perform whatever you're teaching them with a degree of consistency. But in order to perform this, in order to demonstrate this with a degree of consistency, you have to establish a measurement so that they understand what it is that you are expecting. So in this particular case, he has used, in salsa, they use a numbering system. So that if he was saying 5, 1, 2, 3, 5, whatever, when he says those numbers, not only does his partner know what he's talking about, but if he was training 50 people, everybody would know what he's talking about. So he would say, he would have taught them that 5 means take a slight step back. And everybody would know what he's talking about. And so then if he saw, in this case, if he said 5 and he saw you take a step forward, he would say, no. 5 means take a step back. Well, it's the same thing in soccer. And we're going to go to the next video where if I know the cones are 2 feet apart or 3 feet apart or 5 feet apart, whatever, and I've established that, then I can say, okay, I need you to get from point A to point B in X amount of touches. And if you can't do that, right, if you get there in 3 touches, or you get there in 2 touches, or you get there in 10 touches, I know there's a breakdown in your control. All right, so now let me share the next video, right? So even though this guy is teaching this and his partner knows exactly what he's talking about, no. And we have this conversation all the time. In real life, hopefully this works. This is what it looks like in real life. You're not following a very specific way of dancing. You're not. These people are not saying 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. They're improvising. Many of them would not have learned in a formal structure, a formal class, and they're doing their own thing, right? They're totally improvising. Well, that's the game. And they have to respond to their partner. In this case, they have to respond to their partner's skill level. They have to respond to their skill level, the music and the tempo. So I don't want to confuse learning a technical skill in an unopposed technical environment with then saying, oh man, you learn it that way. When you get to this environment, you're going to be trying to force yourself to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 without any idea what's going on. No, this is the game. This is the opposed setting. There is intrinsic value in what you see right here with these people dancing that you cannot get here. You cannot get that.
Any doubt, we're now going to one of the most.
But at the same time, there's intrinsic value here that you can't get in this environment, right? But if you don't have any measurements, I might be lecturing here, but if you don't have any objective measurement on the touch, you lose in my opinion, the biggest advantage of this environment. See, when he does this crossbody lead, it's always going to be the same for the way he's teaching you, because he needs to understand if you know how to do a crossbody lead. Once you understand how to do the crossbody lead and you have sort of become proficient in it, you're going to add your own twist and you're going to add your own fun, I guess you'd say, and variation to that crossbody lead. All right. So now let's go to a video. And this is just a small clip from an academy. I'm not sure if you see this bar. I hope not. But anyway, let me move it up here. So if you watch, this is what it looks like in real life. If you watch very carefully, I should slow it down, but I'm not. Let me rewind it. Watch very carefully. You got to watch real close. These little fellows, they're dribbling, they're moving fast, and they're doing their thing. But they're taking these little baby steps, especially when it's time to make a move. And those little baby steps are ways of compensating for the touch. So watch, baby step. I think I sped it up for the no, I didn't, but I'm gonna slow it down one. All right, let me rewind this because So baby steps, baby steps, baby steps. Now I get into the move. Baby steps. Let me see it again. Baby steps, baby steps, all those steps. Baby steps, baby steps, baby steps. So let's watch that one again. Hold on. All right, him too. So he kicks it. Babies, all those steps. And then all those steps. So first of all, he's able to accomplish this drill with only a couple of touches. Secondly, it's not clear to me that that's what he intends to do, right? So next time he does that drill, he might take less steps or more steps. We don't know. And it's not clear to me that he has complete dominion over the ball. So in the salsa lessons example, it would be like 1 minute you take a back step, the next time you take a forward step. I don't know if you actually know it or you just improvise. So in that type of environment, I'm going to insist that they do it exactly the same because I want to measure the quality of their touch. But what happens is when you explain this to people, people think they'll say stuff like, "Oh, well, yeah, but every soccer player is a little different, and every drill is a little different, and every situation is different," and that's true. But this is in a training environment where we are actually trying to measure their ability, the quality of their touch. So let me watch this one. Let's see what he does. I haven't even watched this completely. See there, he's doing it. So here, boom, 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 and then boom, boom, boom. Now, if that's intentional, if you've explained to the child, look, I want you to take a fake and take or body feint and push it and take 4 or 5 steps because you need to build up some momentum. And then I want you to do a Maradona and take a couple steps. If that's the objective, that's fine. Okay. But if it's not, you really want that level of consistency. Okay. So here, if you watch this fella, and I'm just, like I said, I'm watching this with you guys for the first time. He does the exact same move, but he is touching the ball at every step. That might have been the instruction the coach gave him. I don't know. But you can see that he's able to accomplish the exact same thing the other fellas did, but he got 3 touches, and that's one little Maradona. Well, multiply that over his life. If that's 3 touches in that one little Maradona, imagine over his life if he's touching the ball at every step, how many touches is he going to get? But in addition to that, I now know he has dominion over the ball. Boom. Every step he's touching it. So not there, of course. Let's see. So him, now he's ripping and he's not touching every step. Him, he's not touching it. Boom, boom, and he's running with it. And I'm saying by that fella doing that Maradona and touching the ball with every step, he's going to get more touches and he's going to achieve the goal in the same way. All right. So now let me go to another one. Let's see if this one makes any sense. And then we'll pause it.
Dribbling.
So when they have to
3
dribble
or 4
around
players
cones,
go at the same time.
you tend
Each
to
player
see
has
them
2
touch the ball. Hold on. When they have to dribble around cones, you see them touching the ball at every step a little bit more out of necessity. But even then, when I'm in a technical training session, when they're coming back in the speed dribble, I still want them dribbling it with every step. And I still want that touch to be consistent. I know if I'm setting up this drill, I'm going to know the distance between these cones, and I'm going to know the total distance. And after I watch the kids, I'm going to know if the goal is the speed dribble, I'm going to know how many touches they have to take in order to get from here, from the first cone to the last cone and back. And I'm gonna begin to discover what their quote unquote optimum gait is. So let's watch. So they're dribbling, they're kind of touching with every step, but not really. And then they're just running with it. It's little things. And this one, if you look here, I don't know if you can tell what I'm saying. If you look here at her feet, see, it's that little bit of touch, that little bit of running right there that allows for the player to compensate for the touch. Now, these players are I'm assuming they're relatively high level. So it's very nuanced here. You don't see it. I need to show one of the kids at the beginners. But when you look at absolute beginners, or not even absolute beginners, but kind of beginners, the issue is really magnified. So you see here, so they're dribbling, that's good. They shoot. Now watch. Let's see what they do. I'm actually watching it with you. See all of those steps, that allows them to compensate for a bad touch. Now this one looks a tiny bit intentional in terms of how they go around the cone, and that may be okay. But I hope this makes sense, or it might be just too nuanced. All those steps. So if you take a first touch, right? If you take a first touch here, directional control, and it's okay to take those steps if it's intentional. 1, 2, 3, 4, turn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2. Yeah, it's hard for me to know what's intentional and what's not in the instructions they given. Well, what I hope you can see, and it's very nuanced, you may or may not be able to see. What I hope you can see is they're not touching the ball with every step in most cases. And because they're not, and it doesn't appear to be intentional at all times. So because they're not, it's very difficult for me to know if they have dominion over the ball, or if they're using those steps to compensate for a bad first touch. And finally, here's a game from one of my son's games. Okay, little clip from one of my son, older son. So now, when he receives the ball, he's here with his circle on his. Because I train them so much on touching the ball every step. Not just I'm cherry picking this to show you. So he doesn't do it all the time, of course. But because I've trained them for so many years to touch the ball at every step, they tend to touch the ball at every step unless they don't have to, right? So you see my son moving. So they pass it wide. So right here, touch. So I can't emphasize this enough. Not touching the ball at every step in this tight situation where he doesn't know exactly where the players are at, the defenders are at, is not going to give him that much more of an advantage in this situation. And I know that. And if a player were to come up on him, a defender were to come up on him that he didn't realize was there, by touching the ball at every step, he would be able to get out of that tight situation a lot quicker and easier than he would have been able to if he didn't touch the ball at every step. So watch. So one more time. Touch, and move. Very, very judicious with his touches. I do what I need to do. Now, here is his midfield partner, who's actually 3 years older in this case. And I'm going to show you something that he does that is not intrinsically wrong. And I know that he sees, I have a lot more space, but it doesn't really help him. And if he did miscalculate where the defenders are, he would be in trouble. So I'm cherry picking this one particular clip, but you have to remember, I watch these guys every day. So I know his inability at times to control the ball with every single step causes him trouble in the midfield. I mean, in my son too, sometimes it cases. And also it's showing that when we talk about dribbling with every step, yeah, we're talking about dribbling with every step, but it's also, can you receive the ball and then your next football action be with the ball again, right? So watch here. So he receives it, he takes a touch. Now he's already taken 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So those are 7 unnecessary touches to achieve this objective. So again, let's watch this very, very nuanced thing again. And it's so nuanced. Here you go. So touch 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and turn. And I don't think that's necessary. Now, this is so nuanced. And when you do podcasts, you don't know how people, no one's sitting there talking to you or giving you feedback. So you don't know how it's going to be interpreted. I don't know. So let's just go ahead and summarize this and break it down to the very, very beginning. When a kid, so let's forget about the kids who've been playing a long time. Let's forget about the professionals who have mastered this. When a youth foundation player starts to learn how to dribble, I have never seen them start off by dribbling with every single step. They normally kick the ball, in many cases, with their toe a long distance. And the typical instruction is you got to keep the ball close, make light touches. And there's nothing wrong with that. And that has worked for hundreds of years. Just the simple command of adding, you have to touch the ball with every step, sends a signal, sends a clear message to the player and a clear message to all the players, and an easy way for us, for me as the coach and you as the coach, to evaluate if they're able to accomplish the goal. And if the distance is the same and they're touching the ball with every step, then that gives you an opportunity, if speed dribbling is the goal, to help them get to an optimum touch. And in order to get to an optimum touch, by default, their technique has to improve. They can't touch it with their toe. Their gait has to widen. The touch has to become lighter. They have to have more control. And then if they can get an optimum touch at that same distance with a high pace, then you may go back and reverse it and say, all right, I want you to go the same distance. I want you to go the same amount of time, but I want you to touch the ball twice as much. And the only way they can achieve that is by striking the ball faster with a smaller gait. And it's these types of things that I'm able to do in a training environment that accelerate when we're doing unopposed technical training. I hope this made sense. I'm not sure. Feel free to respond to me in email or respond to the podcast. I'll share this on the Facebook group at some point. You can badger me there. But if it helped you, I really appreciate any feedback. If you still have questions, I appreciate any feedback. If you think this is the craziest thing in the world, also give me that feedback too. I'll listen to it. I can take it. All right. My name is Neil Crawford. I'm the founder of Anytime Soccer Training. Let's get better together.